self-care, self-life culture. And this is one of my favorite features because we're not just speaking about, what to do on a Sunday evening to wind down. And of course, you have to, right? We're not just speaking about how to make your nails pretty, but really sometimes our self-care and our soft life is on the other side of self, knowledge and knowing self and really taking care of yourself from the inside out. And from a lot of people, the journey of self love really begins with learning one powerful word, which is no, setting those boundaries, and years of people pleasing, sacrifice, and, seeking validation can really leave you disconnected from your own needs, your own body, and even our ability to experience joy. And this rings true as well when it comes to our sex lives and sexualities. So, this is a very important conversation to have, especially for adults. I'm not sure if it is a child friendly conversation, so parents, please beware of that in this conversation. In this week's Self Care Soft Life feature, we're joined by accredited sex educator Lisa Welsh, whose deeply personal journey from trauma, shame, and people pleasing to healing, pleasure, and empowerment has inspired so many people. Through her work, Lisa helps people understand that pleasure isn't just about sex itself. It's about reconnecting with yourself, about setting healthy boundaries and embracing a life where your needs matter too. And today she shares why healing starts from within and how choosing yourself is one of our greatest acts of self-love. Lisa, what a pleasure to have you. Good morning.
Morning, Palessa. I'm so happy to be here. What a great introduction to this great topic. I'm excited to chat about it with you.
Oh, I'm just as excited. Your theme, Lisa, is from people pleasing to pleasure. And these are really opposite ends of things, right? What does that journey look like? And how can someone, really recognize what these patterns actually are?
Yeah, absolutely. So many of us are people pleasers at heart, and particularly the women, which is why, no surprise, you brought up our sex lives aspect of this as a people pleaser. Durex's recent global sex survey found that almost 60% of South African women are not always experiencing the big O when they're getting intimate. And that, I believe, is really closely connected to being a people pleaser because often we put our needs last. We think this is something that we just have to provide for our partner. That's something that came up last week at the launch of the new Durex condom, was this
Yeah.
conversation around women doing what they think they should be doing for their men and faking it and just sacrificing their own pleasure. And it is such a shame. It really is.
I wouldn't agree more. It is such a big shame, but it's also societal indoctrination, right? The learning that sex happens to you and not for you is something that is really deeply entrenched in women, which makes them people pleasing, not just in that aspect, but women are known for people pleasing in so many aspects of the world. We're supposed to be the caregivers, which is what society tells us. So we put our needs last and you take care of everybody else. If you're making food, make for everyone else. And if there isn't enough, then you should go without because you should be taking care of others and not particularly of yourself. But why is this people pleasing notion harmful to our self care and our self pleasure?
Yeah, because there are only so many hours in the day, and there are so many things that are required of us. Again, generalizing, but speaking about women, how many roles do we fulfill? And how have we been taught culturally to actually give of ourselves to all of those people until there is nothing left to give? There's not enough time left in the day for ourselves, and we end up giving from that empty cup, and it can become absolutely exhausting. I mean, there's probably not a single woman listener here who isn't tired, who hasn't
Mm-hmm.
started her day by doing something for somebody else. And we can feel guilty by expecting to give ourselves some of our own time, some of our own attention,
Yeah.
some of our own resources for ourselves. It feels difficult. Actually, receiving, even from ourselves, feels really difficult. That's not how we were trained. That's not how we were conditioned. That's not how our cultures are built. Even with all of the different cultures in this beautiful country, the vast majority of us have been brought up this way. And it just
Mm-hmm.
makes it very, very difficult to break that script, to speak up about what we like, about what we desire, about what our needs are, about even if, like you said, taking the time to do something small on a Sunday evening at the end of a busy week, something small for ourselves, even that can be very difficult.
Absolutely. And you spoke about guilt, and I mean, it is a natural feeling, but it also comes from, once again, that socialization that we are created to, make life happy and comfortable for others and not particularly for ourselves. And when you
Yeah.
realize that the guilt is there, especially if you're moving to a part of self care and you want to move past that people pleasing, how do you start working through that guilt that will constantly remind you that what you're doing is wrong? Why are you selfish? Why are you taking care of just yourself? Because it's not just going to be in your head. Other people will start saying it too. Oh, you're so selfish. Why would you do that when we need this from you?
Oh, what a good question, because you're right. That will come from other people. But sometimes we are our own critics and we will be shouting at ourselves, that little inner voice that is panicking and saying, you shouldn't be doing this. You don't deserve this. So let's think about that inner voice, because that critic within our minds is there to protect us. It is usually a device left over from a time when we found it was safer to do something for others. That's how we were taught to that good girls behave, right? And so as we've said, we've been conditioned in that way, but it actually has served us because it is good to fly under the radar, be good, make sure everybody is happy, and that has kept us safe. And so if we want to change that and realize that actually we do deserve some of that time for ourselves, but not only do we deserve it, but we actually require it.
Mm-hmm.
We also need to be nurtured and taken care of. And when we can fill our own cups, we can be better people, even to
Yeah.
ourselves and to everybody around us. So it's understanding that it will be awkward. We will feel guilty. It's You cannot escape it, and you must do it anyway.
Mm.
You must push through that discomfort. That's why they say rest is a rebellion, because when you try and sit down, it feels very uncomfortable.
Yes.
What should I be doing right now? You're waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You're thinking, oh, but I should be doing that. There will never be a time when there is absolutely nothing to do.
Yeah.
And so you must learn to sit with the discomfort of being unproductive, of being unhelpful for a little while, because it fills your cup and will allow you to show up in the world as your full self in your full radiance. So
Mm.
I really encourage you to just live with that guilt and see how it feels to take care of yourself as well.
I love that. Well, let's come back to the conversation of pleasure of the sexual kind. I do believe that all people have the right to pleasure. However, we were taught quite early where there are rights, there are responsibilities. What is the responsibility of the person who's been people pleasing all their time and suddenly they want to experience real pleasure? How do you start? What is your responsibility to yourself when you begin that
Mm.
journey of self pleasure?
Ooh, responsibility to self. That's beautiful, because you mentioned earlier at the very beginning of this conversation the consent piece and the saying no. Something that an awful lot of us have been conditioned to do is override that feeling and allow things to continue even when we're not in the mood, when we're too tired, when we don't really want it. And it can actually shut us down and shut us off to our pleasure. So instead, learn to turn yourself on by allowing yourself access to pleasure in your life, not only in the bedroom, but what makes you feel good. Is it that beautiful cup of tea that you enjoy in the garden with the sun? Is it, a little treat for yourself? Is it taking an extra moment in the shower or to put on some of that lotion that's been sitting at the back of your cupboard? Allowing yourself to experience pleasure and then allowing yourself to say yes when it feels good to you. Stop faking the big O. That is something that we all need to do.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
responsibility to self. Being honest about what feels good, even when it feels uncomfortable, because that will
Mhm.
lead us to greater pleasure, greater quality sex life, greater connection with our partners when we can be real. Because faking the big O all the time can lead to disconnection. It's like
Mhm.
abandoning ourselves, sacrificing ourselves. And that is a responsibility we must take. Take a responsibility to be honest about what we do want, about what does feel good. about what we deserve, and we do deserve pleasure.
May I add an added layer there, Lisa, when it comes
Ooh,
to the responsibility, right? Because I think there's a taught behavior that the pleasure of sex should only be happening between you and your partner. And so that's the only place where you can start practicing these boundaries and the self pleasure. But what about the responsibility of self pleasuring? So you understand your body so that you don't put the responsibility of your pleasure onto someone else.
oh, what a great turn this conversation has taken. Yes, this is essential because how else will you know what to communicate if you don't understand your own body? So you're right. We have not been encouraged to learn about ourselves and what feels good. Self pleasure can be a great way to build safety in ourselves, to learn what we like, to feel the inner yes and no, and to really be able to understand what we need to get there, to realize that we're not broken like we might have assumed. For all of those women who are not experiencing orgasm with their partners, maybe they can learn actually, this is the kind of stimulation that I need. And then be brave enough to have the conversation about, let's try this, let's do this together instead. So, self pleasure is wonderful for so many reasons. Learning about yourself, building the safety in your body, and if you're in a partnered situation, bring that bedroom as well is only going to bring rewards.
I love that. Well, let's wrap it up, Lisa. If someone's listening today and they recognize that they've been stuck in a pattern of people pleasing, both in their life outside of, their sexuality and in that realm as well, what are some of the practical steps they can take and they can do to actually start choosing themselves and moving towards pleasure?
Mm. One of the first things to try is accepting compliments. As crazy as that
I
might
love
sound,
that.
learning
Yes.
to receive. When someone says something good about you, receive it. Feel the truth of that. Let yourself bask in that. Women learning to receive is like groundbreaking. Knowing that rest is rebellion. So taking 5 minutes for yourself. And one real practical step is stop faking orgasms. Even if you're not ready to have the big conversation with your partner about this isn't working, stop giving positive reinforcement to those
Mm.
things, right? Stop pretending that it's working when it's not. Explore your body, explore your partner's body together. Have those tricky conversations and don't be scared of trying tools. There are so many wonderful innovations in pleasure products that can help you to really achieve pleasure in your busy life.
Well, thank you so much. What a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Tell us more about the tools and the services that you offer, Lisa, and also how people can engage with you and your content.
Thank you so much. You can find me online at lisawelsh.com. And I must tell you, one of the most exciting tools that I've come across recently is the Durex, the condom that I just mentioned that was launched. It's called Mutual Climax, and it is designed to slow him down and speed her up. It's a brand new tool that I'm very excited to try myself. Actually, it was only launched last week. So that is something that I think can be a really fun way to just, it's just a tool to add to your kit alongside educating yourself about your body, exploring, communicating, and who knows, maybe we can get South Africa really enjoying themselves.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for your time. It was quite a pleasure to speak to you. That's sex educator Lisa Welsh speaking about that transition from people pleasing to pleasure. It's 11:35 Central Africa time. That's what we have for you today on Self Care, Soft Life.
No waiting your turn. No shrinking your voice. Greatness doesn't ask for permission. Youth Month on Channel Africa, the African perspective. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet.